Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. First off, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you have any questions about this video or comments, you can leave them below, or you can hit me up at foxjunk73@gmail.com. So if you look at the description, I'm going to kind of show you guys how to take off the window trim off the rear hatch of a Mustang. A lot of guys hit me up and ask me how I do that. And second, I'm going to show you guys the repair on a torque box, how to get to that and how to get it as straight as you can and make it look the best you can if you've got one that's kind of beat up and tattered or torn. This car sat in the dirt. If you watch my past videos, the driver's side torque box had a lot of light surface rust. It had subframe connectors. The driver's side frame rail really took a beating because it didn't have a tire on the driver's side, so it kind of sat a little crooked in the mud. So I had to spend some time on that. So I got about 2 weeks underneath the car. I'm going to show you guys the underneath of the car, where I put the trunk floor in, where I sectioned in the rear driver's side floor pan. So without further ado, I'll get on, show you guys the floors, show you what they look like after I got the floors primered, after I took the sound deadener out of the car, and what it looks like when you get to that point. So let's check this out real quick. All right, so first we'll start off with the floors. I got epoxy primer on the front, the full floor. There were some spots right here, and over there I put a little bit of 2K on just to kind of get rid of some of the sand scratches. Not that that matters that much. So if you look at the floor pans, there's all the factory spot welds. I got all the nasty sound deadener out on this side, that side, down to the original floor pan as well. Also show you guys something real quick. I'm thinking about it. These little metal studs right here for the bracket that on the older cars is for the amp, but on the 93 cars it basically just helps support the center console. One of these was broke off. So what I did was I just drilled a pilot hole, and I took a brand new bolt and ground the head of it off, and then just set this in there and then tack welded it in. So if you got any of those that are broke, that's a really easy fix. You can't really tell I put it in there. I actually replaced both sides. That one's a new one as well. So I figured why do one, just make both of them new. So that's an easy fix on that if you got those that are missing. I know those break pretty easy, if you know what I'm saying. Sorry about that. All right, so we get on the back floor. I showed you this once before. This is where I sectioned the floor in. I put it in right here. It was pretty rusty. I got all that worked out and looking really nice. So I'm just gonna paint that red when I get to it, after I put the new sound deadener in. I've got some factory style sound deadener that I'll put over top the floors. Now, torque boxes. This one was really, on the driver's side, it was really beat up from somebody trying to jack it up on the car underneath and this and that and the other. So how I do this and how I get to that, because there's really no other way to do it. You pull all this sound deadener off, and what I do is, this one you can kind of still see where I cut it. I welded the original piece back in. I'll cut the floor out on top of the torque box, up through here. I'll bring it over, down through here, and bring it back down. So what that does is that exposes the inner part of the torque box. You can heat it up with just a small butane torch, get it nice and hot, so that way it makes it a little easier to work with. I'm probably going to post the thumbnail picture of the torque box to what it looked like when I started on it. Looks pretty bad compared to what it looks like now. So we'll go under the car. First I'll show you the floor, where I got the floor put in. So this is, let's see if I can, oops, sorry about that. This is where I put the floor in. It was right through this flat part, right through here. Now on the inside, I didn't grind much weld off. That's why it looks a little lumpy on the inside. You want to keep that for your support of the floor pan to keep it strong. But under here, I ground the weld down nice and smooth. I put a couple coats of 2K primer on it, and all that's pretty much gone there. You can't even tell where I put it in. Like I said, I've got 2 weeks of work on this car underneath doing the floors. So this is, we'll crawl under the car a little bit. So this is where I put the section of the floor right in through here. Actually I came around this corner right here and then brought it up and then put it in right through here. So you can't tell from the underneath. I worked all this nice and smooth, so you won't ever be able to tell I put that patch in there. Still has the factory spot welds. If you look right here, I think there's one here, there's one here, and there's one over here. That's it. Now also, this car had subframe connectors on it. You see the torque box? I got it pretty flat from the inside. That's a really nice looking torque box now compared to what it looked like. There's still a little bit of welds right here from when they did the subframes. You could probably get those out with a Dremel tool, But this car, I'm going to drive it. Yeah, the underneath is going to look super, super nice, but the plans are to drive this car. So I wasn't looking for 100% perfection on that. So this is the torque box right here. If you look at the thumbnail, the torque box really looked like hell. So I spent, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 hours, heat and dolly, heat dolly. Now there's supposed to be a hole right here for the park and brake cable bracket. Those on some of these cars, they get wallowed out. So I welded them back up solid on both sides. I'll re-drill it when I get to that point. But if you can see right through here, it all looks nice like it should all the way around. You know, it's a nice factory looking torque box now. The front of this torque box, if you see in the thumbnail picture, was just, it was completely caved in from here to here. It was pushed in probably 4 inches, you know, up on the inside. So I was able to get all that straight and flatten back out. So the floors turned out amazing. In my opinion, if you come down here, this is the driver's side frame rail. Now keep in mind, it had subframes on it. So I had to cut all the subframe connectors off the frame rail. Now what the subframes did help is it kept them from denting the original factory frame rail right there. Pinch welds, super nice. There was a couple little dings right in here I fixed, but I think that was about it. There might have been one small one down towards the front, but yeah, that's about that. So you can see all the factory spot welds right here, and the pinch welds. So that's the torque box. It looks really nice. Like I said, I welded that panel in right up in the center up there. You might be able to see a little bit of weld left up in there. Not much. And I think that's about it. This right here from the subframe connector, we had an old set on it, Maximum Motorsports, I think. And they used to send it with an extra block that filled up this hole and welded right in here to the back side of this floor pan. And that's the main reason the floor rusted out. Whoever welded it in, it blew a hole and they didn't seal it up. So I had to cut a big square block out of here that was welded to this piece as well. So trying to clean up all those grinding marks and get all the weld off to make it look like a nice factory frame rail to take it back to OEM was kind of a, like I said, I've got about 2 weeks underneath the car, but that's what it looks like. Passenger floors are in really good shape. Didn't have to do anything to that. Wasn't no rust in the passenger floor. Now, oh, excuse me, getting old, getting off this floor. Trunk floor. I had to replace the trunk floor. It's now done. I took it out of an 86 parts car I have. I sectioned it in probably about, I don't know, 2 inches down. I did it all the way around. And then there's spot welds that go down through here. There's spot welds here and spot welds here. Now obviously you're not going to see those because I welded them up with a MIG welder, so you won't have the spot welds, but nice sound factory tub. I'm going to have to run some new seam sealer down through here before I paint it, but I'm going to paint the whole trunk floor. Now I stripped the sound deadener back here also to get down to the original floor, and I stripped the sound deadener off on this side as well. So I'll replace all that before I paint it. And up here, you can't get a piece of sound deadener aftermarket that runs from one tub to the other. So I left the original there. I just kind of cleaned it up the best I could. See where it's cut straight. So you got one section there where I got a little carried away. So not too bad. So underneath, you're thinking, well, that's done. Did I do the underneath? Yep. So we'll check that out. So up in here, that's where I sectioned it in, was up in there. As you can see, I worked all that area also. So you can't see any of that. And then I worked this area up in here. So all I gotta do is scuff and paint it. So again, that's the bottom of the car. That's the other torque box. It was actually in pretty nice shape. I didn't have to really do much to it. Floors on the car. Now all this is gonna get painted bright red. I kind of get carried away when I do the bottoms. It'll have way more paint on it than what it's supposed to have. So I'm going to set the camera up and show you just a little bit on the rear window trim, how to take the rear window trim off. I know a lot of guys bend it when they try to take it off. I watched one guy on a 65 coupe the other day. I'm sure you guys watch him too. He bent the shit out of those rear window trim. You don't want to use a screwdriver. They make a tool for that. I'll show you what it is. But let me pause this real quick, set up the camera, and we'll be right back. All right, so get you guys set up real quick. So 2 tools, window trim, clip removal tool. Not a screwdriver, because if you ask Vtuned, screwdrivers just don't work. Second tool, I'm going to cut the window out. I don't know if any of you guys noticed. This is a non-rear defrost window. This hatch came off a 92 GT. I'm not sure if this car had a rear window defrost or not, because like I said, there was no hatch on it when I got it. I might stay with this rear defrost glass, mainly because it's super clean. If you get the window tinted, you don't have all the rear defrost lines in it, stuff like that. And it's a little more unique than having one that's got a rear defrost. So we'll see how that works out. So when I get to cutting out windows, this is my window removal tool. You can buy them off eBay, you're just basically anywhere, Amazon, you know, eBay. It's kind of just a generic handheld tool. That's what I use to cut the windows out with once you get the trim off. So on the window trim, the first thing you want to do, I already blew this out with the air hose. I got all it cleaned out. I looked for excessive butyl. Ford uses butyl on these old windows. They don't use urethane. So back in the 80s and 90s, it was all window butyl, not urethane like they use now. So on the bottom half especially, it's super tight to try to get to those clips. So I'll show you on this one because it's really easy to get to. So first thing, make sure you don't have a lot of excessive butyl. First step, clean it out. Look for excessive butyl. Second step, on the window moldings, I normally walk around the whole edge of the clip or window trim, and I'll lightly pry it up. And what that's going to do is the edge of the window trim right here where the clip pops on, it's going to bend the actual molding itself just a little bit where the clip is at. So it's going to give you some room to get up under it. Now, I've already popped 2 of these clips loose. I'm not sure how much you can see. I think you can see some of that right in there. So there was one clip right here. So I normally start with the side pieces. When I start on the side piece, like I said, I'll walk around it, I'll bend it up a little bit. So what you're going to do is you bend over with your head and you kind of look up in there so you can get the tip of this clip removal tool. Because on the front windows, it's a lot easier. You can actually just run it through there and pop the clip so it'll pop off. But on the rear clips, it's a different design clip. You kind of got to get this little pointy part in between the window molding and the clip and just turn it sideways like that and it'll pop the clip off the molding. So I got these 2 already done. Like I said, I'll slide it in there. You just turn the tool like that and it'll pop it off. So I think I got the first 3 done. I think there's a 4th one up here. So we'll run it up. Sorry you can't see me. Got the camera set up in the wrong spot. So right in here, I got the clip on the tool on the clip. You just turn it sideways and you hear a pop, just like that. So that releases that clip. Now you'll have to do it on the front, like that, in the rear, like that. So, sorry you weren't able to see that, but I was able to do this. The clip is right here. If you see that clip right there, you want to get the tool just in between that clip and just turn it, just like that, and it'll pop that clip off the molding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the rest of this window trim off. I'll put you guys on pause while I get that off, and I'll kind of show you how to cut the glass itself out as well. So those of you guys are sticking with me for these quick Fox body tips, I appreciate that. So stand by and let me get this trim off, and we'll see how long it actually takes me. All right, so I got the trim off. Now keep in mind, this isn't a race when you're taking this stuff off. There's no time limit, so just the thing is these are really hard to find that aren't bent all to pieces. And if you've got a nice straight one like I do all the way around, you want to save this. Now, when I told you to pry up on the molding like that, and I said it's going to bend the molding, when I say molding where it bends it, it doesn't actually bend the molding as far as the flat part, the visible part. What that bends, and I don't know if you can see this straight right through here, where the clip sets in the window trim right here, it's going to bend that out when you're prying on it. So what you're going to do is just take a small hammer. You don't have to hit it hard to bend these back straight. So when you clip them back on the window, the molding is going to sit in your glass nice and tight like it's from the factory. So you can kind of see right there where I bent all of those out just a little bit right here, especially on the bottom part. This one had a shit ton of butyl in it. I'll show you that on the camera in a second, not to mention a bunch of dirt. My son was taking one off the other day and he gave me a phone call and asked me for some tips and stuff like that. And I know I've had a lot of people ask me how to get them off without bending them. So this is the long piece at the bottom. It turned out super nice. This is the other round part. It turned out super nice. Like I said, it's not a race. Don't get in a hurry, because if you bend it in half, it's done. You're finding a new piece. And trying to find these trim, I know they make the front, but nobody's making the rear ones yet. You can see this one right here too, maybe, where I bent this one out just a little bit in some spots to get to the clip. Like I said, just work it slow, get the right tool for the job. Like I said, I was watching old Vtuned take off some moldings the other day, and let's just say it didn't go very well. So I hope he's able to find a nice OEM set, because finding window trim for a 60 model, nobody makes much of that stuff either. So cutting the glass out. This is what I use. It's just a glass removal tool. Basically going to take this pointy part. Like I said, these are in with butyl. It's not urethane, so these cut out really easy. Now I'll tell you, if you have a rear defrost, you want to be careful with this, because it'll actually cut the rear defrost down here on the bottom. There's a metal strip that runs down here on the very bottom of the glass. And if you're not careful with this tip will catch the rear defrost piece and it'll actually cut it off the window, and then you got to solder it back on. So just when you get to that point on a rear defrost glass, like I said, I didn't even realize this was a non-rear defrost till today, and it just, like I said, it's one of those things you just don't pay attention. So it's pretty easy. I mean, start where there's plenty of room to get in between the hatch itself and the window. You just basically going to take the sharp part, stick it under the glass, just like that, and it's just, you're going to pull it out. It's pretty simple. Just try to keep the handle straight as you're pulling, and like I said, just pull it nice and straight, just like that. Now, that's where there's enough room. Down in the bottom, these windows set up extremely tight. There's a red spacer block that goes in between the window and the hatch. That red spacer block, you want to take this little, a skinny, not this one because this one's mine, I can't give it to you, but just a little skinny straight screwdriver like this. You stick it down in between that red spacer block. It's down here in the corner, you'll see it. It's a little red block. If it's been painted, it's right next to one of the clips. Now sometimes, if there's a lot of butyl in these windows, take a razor blade and try to remove some of that excess butyl before you try to cut it out. It just makes it easier. And sometimes if the window clips are extremely tight to the glass, sometimes I'll try to pull the clips out too, just to keep myself from busting the back window. Especially one like this, non-rear defrost hatch glasses, it's super hard to find. Actually, non-rear defrost or anything is kind of hard to come by. So I'll take the straight screwdriver. Like I said, this one has a bunch of butyl under it. I got underneath the little red block. It's a spacer block. That does, it just moves the window away from the hatch. It's a little red spacer block. I pop both of those out. Just be careful when you put this under there. This is about as big as you want to use underneath this little block in between there, because it is solid safety glass, but I have seen these shatter. If you got one that's thinner than this, that's even better, but this is the one I use. This one was super tight, so I probably could have used a smaller one to help myself out. But so I'm going to flip the camera around. I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as butyl and how tight this stuff gets as far as on this window. Again, thanks for sticking around. If you want to know how to do stuff like this, this is kind of what this channel is about. My editing kind of sucks. Anybody in Utah wants to help edit or come film videos, let me know. I'm more than welcome to accept the help. So let me show you what I'm talking about, and we'll go from there. Let me take these. Like I said, I'm the rubber glove bandit. For those of you guys that are working on cars and you're greasy and dirty, I was that way when I was in the military. Never wore gloves, but I'll tell you what, it's so much easier. I need to walk in the house, clean hands. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but gloves are where it's at, fellas. So, and the ladies appreciate clean hands. So hold on a second. Let me move this camera real quick. All right, so this is what I was talking about. Oops, drop my screwdriver. So this is where that red clip sits, is right in here that I just took out. If you see how tight this window sits next to this hatch, and see how much dirt and this excess butyl is right here. So my son, that's what he was having trouble with, was on the bottom. His was really full. This one has a bunch, but it's not that bad. If you come to the sides where I just cut that out, you see the gap you have, how much clearance you have, and it's like that all the way around. Oh, here's a good example. You see all this nasty butyl right in here? I mean, it's just a shit ton. So that's what you're trying to get out. So the reason I'm taking this out is because this is a different color red. This isn't a performance red hatch, and I'm going to paint the window jamb and the bottom and the top when I paint the car. So that's why I'm pulling it out, and I'm not 100% sure I'm going to stick with the non-rear defrost or find I've got a couple good rear defrost glasses out back I might put back in it. Hadn't decided yet. So you guys, that's all it's about today. I was just giving you some updates on Project Field Snake. Thanks for watching the channel. I hope this window trim removal helps some of you guys out. If you got any questions, like I said, I'm more than happy to answer those for you guys. It doesn't bother me a bit, either in the comments or you can send me an email, foxjunk73@gmail.com. Answer most all the questions I get. I appreciate you guys' comments. If you like the video, hit like the video. I can't wait to get the doors and fenders on this car because I'm itching to get some paint on it. I know a lot of guys want to know what the progress is and my builds and stuff like that. Just my history. You've seen, if you watch my past videos, I haven't showed any full restorations that I've done. I've done a bunch of 93 Cobras and stuff like that, but I haven't showed the process on how I do it. This is the first 93 Cobra I've done a YouTube video on, and this is the first one I've taken down this far on YouTube. The car will get done, I assure you. It's not my first one. I think I've done probably 5 this way, several other cars like this. Not new to this process. So if you got any questions, hit me up. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Thanks to my subscribers, and you guys have a blessed weekend.